Hey, welcome to another episode of Andy's Chomping at the Bit, brought to you by Big Andy Media, the official sponsor of every Friday episode of Andy's Chomping at the Bit. So today I decided I'm going to talk about compromise. And this one's I'm going to be really careful here. It's almost more like a vent or rant to a point, but I'm going to make sure that I don't cross into the politics or religion of the world, but I'm going to skirt that line pretty darn closely today, because, well, it happens to be a value, a skill that's gone missing in action, so to speak. It might not even be in the English dictionary anymore. Oh, it is? You sure? Okay, so apparently, it still is in the dictionary. In fact, can we pull that one up? Let's pull that one up right there. Okay, ready? There we go. Compromise. What a word. And we're going to focus on, let's see, we'll go on the noun first. So, settlement of differences by arbitration or by consent reached by mutual concessions. Okay? Also known as intermediate between or blending qualities of two different things. And now let's go to the verb part, the one that we can all control individually but choose not to. Okay, so to come to agreement by mutual concession. Okay? To follow a way between two extremes. Now, the two extremes part is where I really want to hit the focus on, because today's world, in case you didn't notice, things have become more and more polarized. And I've already done a chomping at the bit on extreme thinking. This is part of why extreme thinking is around and why it continues to be around. And if compromise is not addressed, it will continue being around and probably get worse. Hopefully the word does not go extinct like I was kind of sarcastically talking about. But anyway, when we aren't willing to negotiate, when it's our way or the highway on everything, or everything that we care about, we lose the ability to function as a society. When you can't even... Okay, so it makes... Go back to when you were a kid. If you had parents that raised you as a kid, or if you had any authority figure that taught you this, please say you did. Otherwise, here's your first lesson. Okay, so when I was a kid and my brother and I, we had to split a sandwich. Yes, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And the way we did it is one person cuts, the other person picks the slice. Now, you could say this, in that situation, compromise is based around greed, and to avoid greed, which I guess you could say in a sense is true, but we both wanted the sandwich. Instead of only one of us getting, the other one being disappointed, we compromised. My mom said the compromise. The compromise was we both get half the sandwich. One person cuts, the other person picks. So that way the person who cuts, it's in their best interest to make it as even as possible. Otherwise, the other person who's picking will probably take the bigger of the two. Pretty simple system. And at one time, adults did the same. Not with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but with ideals, with views. And so now I'm going to dip on this is where I skirt the edge of politics without going in. We have a lot more in common, people, than you'd like to believe sometimes, especially more than the media would like to put out. And let me tell you why. Because the media, they have sponsorships. A lot of their sponsorships are based on viewers. What gets more viewers than a very, very scandalous headline? There's the old saying, blood and sex sells. Guess what? It does. It doesn't always make for accurate, fair journalism, but the point is, it does sell. So, anyway, reeling that back in. So, the similarities we have in the world of politics, I'm not going to go on a particular issue, but both sides, whether you want to agree with it or not, you can make up all this random, they're the enemy, or they're trying to destroy the country. Both sides I've heard say that. Both sides are, guess what, wrong. You may feel that will be the outcome of certain things, but guess what? Neither side is actually going, let's destroy this country. Ooh, how can we destroy it? What will we make next? No one's doing that. Okay? Both sides have their viewpoint on what would make this a better country. We don't agree either side with each other on what that is, but if we could at least come to the agreement, at the very least, that both sides want to make the country better, and that the disagreement isn't on that, the disagreement is on how. That makes things a little easier for the compromise, for the negotiating, for finding common ground. Right there is the common ground, both sides. Okay? So, let's say taxes, right? One side believes that we should lower taxes. That way people can keep that money and spend it how they need. Okay. The other side is saying we could use those taxes for programs helping those that might not have as much and level things. Okay. Regardless of the side. It's an economic policy. Both sides are trying to do what's best for the economy. The difference is really on how to do that, okay? The how is the difference. But just because they have different hows, just because one side is completely, vastly different, doesn't make the other side bad. And that's the problem when we don't compromise. It's almost like we got too caught up in competition. Everything has become a competition to an unhealthy level. You don't... Your opposition is or a disagreement doesn't make the other person the enemy. And this goes beyond politics. This goes even to the world of, well, since around the holidays, we'll go with the religion, because that's a common one. People will dislike someone because they have a different belief than them, right? Like there'll be a Christian that doesn't like a Muslim, or Muslim that doesn't like a Jew, or take your pick on those three. I'm going to use those three right now because they all happen to have the same base, their same origins. Okay, just throwing it out there. A lot of Christians don't know that. A lot of Christians probably don't want to know that. A lot of Jews don't know that, surprisingly, and a lot of Muslims don't know that. I don't know how people don't know this, but anyway, in case you don't, now you're going to. Okay, all three of those religions have the Old Testament. Okay, where it changes, now Christians have the whole thing with Jesus and being the Messiah. The Jews don't, but the Muslims do. Okay, they just don't believe that he's the Messiah. They believe he's a prophet, and then Muhammad also is a prophet. But if you reel it all the way back, they all still have that Old Testament. They all still have the basic 10 Commandments, okay? They believe in the same God. It's just what happened after Moses is where things change, okay? Whether you want to agree with me or not, whether you hate me for saying this or not, that's your choice. But people, instead of looking at what they have in common, also all three of those are peaceful religions at their core. Where they go off is when people don't know the commonalities and they branch off and and they go with the our way or no way. And you don't even branch off that big. You can literally go within a single religion. Within Christianity, you have not just the Catholics and Protestants, which, by the way, Ireland's a classic example of how two different groups, Protestants and Catholics, can literally fight. Just saying. Over, they still have the same Some of their beliefs within are different, but they still have the basic same belief. But there's no compromise. They're focused on their differences, not what they have in common, what they have different. That's what I'm getting at with religion and how it relates to compromise. If we are only focusing on our differences and not looking for where we have common ground, where we have things in common, what unites us, that's where you get this extreme behavior. That's where you get the division. And when you only focus on the differences, you never can find common ground. You can never find that gray area. And there is a lot of gray area. Now, there are some things where there isn't gray area. Take, for instance, on a personal scale, addiction. I can tell you for certain that I can't spend time hanging out in a house full of a bunch of people smoking crack and think that everything will be fine with me. I know that I'm not capable of doing that. I also know that I'm not going to put myself in that situation because of that, okay? So I can't compromise. I'm like, yeah, you guys do that, and I'll just sit right here. Nope. The way I deal with it is, you guys do that? Okay. I'm going to be in a different city, or at least a different house. Okay? That's on where there's no compromise. My recovery, there's no compromise, essentially. But for a lot of other issues, there has to be. And now let's bring this to a smaller scale, because I've probably irritated enough people talking on the politics and religion side of things, or skirting that edge. And by the way, there's more than just those three religions. You have Hindu, Buddhism. Gosh, I'm not even gonna. There's not even scraping the edge. Don't forget, Festivus is a holiday that's literally made up from Seinfeld. Amazing holiday, by the way. So, on a more micro scale, within your family, religion, however you want to look at it, right? I'm going to go with family right now as the more extended family. Thanksgiving in my household, except for this past year, I don't think it happened too much this past year, or this year. Then again, I made a pledge within my immediate family that if politics came up, I would just zone out, and I'm pretty good at that. But in the past, our family has been really divided as far as conservative, liberal, and for the longest time, for many, many years, everyone wanted to talk politics during Thanksgiving. I hated it. I actually used to get anxiety at one point because I knew that I'd get in a heated argument because both sides would go. And so finally got to a point where I just stepped back on it. But it still kept going, so I'd still get anxiety from the whole thing. As far as compromise here, right? We were still able to gather and have wonderful Thanksgivings, despite all of that, despite the anxiety going into it. I always left, though sometimes irritated at a particular viewpoint or discussion, I always enjoyed Thanksgiving still. Because despite the very polar differences in political views within the family, we knew our common ground as we were family. We knew that both sides, regardless of viewpoints, were loving, caring, good people, good individuals. Both sides. We knew that both sides had good intentions. We knew that both sides cared for the best interest. We just didn't agree on the path for the best interest. Or, we had different views on how to get that done. And that's okay. We obviously didn't come to a compromise there at Thanksgiving. But we were able to set our differences aside, have a meal together, get along, love each other like a good family should, and despite differences, and still hug at the end of the day when people were leaving, and still miss them, and not, and look forward to seeing them again. I think that was probably one of the best lessons or best enforcement lessons for compromise growing up. Was dealing with the extended family and the political divide, but still seeing them for who they are. amazing, loving individuals that though we don't agree on politics, we can agree that we're family and we can still love the other side just as much, regardless. That's finding that gray area. That's finding the commonality. They're not the enemy. I'll tell you that right now. The family members that are on the polar opposite political spectrum, they are not enemies. They are good-hearted individuals, regardless of who they voted for. I'll tell you right now, I disagree with some of the votes, but I love them nonetheless. Just putting it out there. I know that's a lot harder for a lot of people to hear in today's world with the extreme behavior. But compromise is the only way we're getting out of it. Whether you like to hear that or not. I mean, it's the only peaceful, safe way to get out of it. It also pulls in your personal relationship, direct relationship. Think about it as a couple, right? If you're never compromising, let's go on both ends of this, okay? For the situation, say you are the one that doesn't compromise. It's your way every time. We can go to a few scenarios here, right? You command it. You set the rules, and this is how it goes. What's the old saying? Wearing the pants in the relationship, right? The dumbest saying ever, just so you know. That you're not living, I don't think, my personal opinion, that's not really by any means a healthy or even a happy relationship. At least not for both parties. I can't imagine that would be too happy. And I personally don't see how appealing that would be, giving marching orders on every little thing. That just, I don't know, that just comes off as weird to me, my personal thing. But it's not healthy because I can see on the other side too. Imagine the other person demanding and sets every little thing. Gosh, it's like anxiety thoughts right there. It's, that's stressful. Just I'm thinking about not having any control over anything, even your own life. That's even things within your own life. It's terrifying. But what really happens usually is you come to things where both people are clashing in argument. Neither side wants to come to a gray area and compromise. This person wants to go to. This one person wants to go get Mexican food. This person wants to go get. What else we got? Italian food, right? Okay. Neither one wants to have Mexican or Italian. Or, the other one, okay? So compromises. Well, why don't you guys pick a different restaurant altogether? Find a second choice, like Asian food. That's always a good choice. And if you don't like Asian food, there's other foods. Okay? So you don't want to go that route, right? Okay, well, this time we go this way. This time we go this way. Next time we go this way. And as long as it's understood that it goes back and forth, it's not, okay, we'll do it this way, next time this way, and then the next time it comes around, they're still going this way. No. Finding the way to negotiate is, or compromise. I guess negotiate would be a good word for this one too. But finding the compromise in the scenarios, or whatever other compromise you have. Maybe it's, okay, we'll have Italian, but you're paying, okay? I don't know what your compromise would be, but there's there's value in it. No one wants a bully, and that's essentially the person without compromise is trying to be a bully. And it's not healthy, it's not productive. And it creates fear from people, creates anger from people. It breeds resentment. It's a very dangerous mindset. So I'm going to put it up one more time just to kind of remind people here. Compromise. A settlement of differences by arbitration or by consent reached by mutual concessions. Something intermediate between or blending qualities of two different things. So the verb to come to an agreement by mutual concessions, right? And to find or follow a way between extremes. I know. It's it's almost gone the way of the dodo, extinct, but it's still around. It still does exist. Compromise does exist. We just got to look a little harder for it. We have to, on an individual basis, stop looking to fight and start looking to work. I know it sounds simple, but it actually is. And I apologize. No, I don't. I know I may have come off as a little condescending during this at times, and I was about to apologize, but I'm not apologizing this time. This is my way, in a very PG manner, to essentially throw the bucket of water on society's face and say, hey, wake up. This is your opportunity right now. Wake up, change. We know what happens if we don't. History has shown what happens if people don't compromise, if the extreme behavior keeps going. We have 2 world wars to count for that, okay? Just saying. And those aren't even the only 2 examples. We need to learn to compromise. That's just on the big scale. But even within our lives, our smaller individual lives, we need to. Okay. And I can't make you do it, but I'm going to do my best. Anyway, that is your day, or that is Andy's Chomping at the Bit Friday episode. I do want to mention while I'm thinking about it, we do have the Singing for a Cause requested live performance. This will be the 3rd Sunday this Sunday. So we will have another requested live performance from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we have Crystal Valley Care Fund as our December Spotlight charity. They are a very good one, and I look forward to keep helping them for the rest of this month. I can tell you that I'll be doing at least 2 Christmas songs. One will be an original, not the one I was going to release this year, a different one. And then I think there's a very popular one that I'm going to also do. I'm not going to tell you. It's going to be a surprise. You have to see it Sunday. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you again on Sunday and also on Monday and Wednesday next week for more daily biscuits. So you guys have a wonderful time. Take care.